Have you competed before for either wrestling or for MMA overseas previously?
All right, so I'm gonna sound dumb logistically. Is Mexico considered overseas, kind of?
Okay. What is up, ladies and gents? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Sparza, coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. And as you can tell right here, these grappler ears, that earbud always kicks out. It is what it is. It's a grappler issue that you have to deal with. And as you get older, the real estate starts getting a little less and less in that earbud. But nonetheless, we're very excited that you're here. We have an excellent guest. We'll get to him in a second. But before we get to our guest, a few quick reminders. First and foremost, if you like the show, and I hope that you do, you can check us out at patreon.com/grappling hour. For just $5 a month, you can see our interviews 30 days before anybody else. And for a few extra dollars, you can see extra bonus content that is not available anywhere else, including tape studies with the athletes breaking down their matches in the UFC, in Bellator, in any number of major organizations in the grappling world as well. So we do that. There's also another segment called Roast Raf where people like roast my competition footage. That is our most popular segment for whatever reason. Don't know why. And then you can see extra audio episodes that we record with our favorite athletes. So that is at Grappling Hours patreon.com/grappling hour. You could also get, because like right now it's starting to get cold, right? Like in certain regions, if you need a hoodie or extra grappling hour gear, go to rafasparza.com/merch, get you a grappling hour hoodie so that you can wear it loudly, proudly, wherever you're at and stay warm as you're going to go out there and compete. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts at Grappling Hour. Please rate and review. It helps. I know it sounds dumb. I know we have to say it each time, but it does help. And I am looking, and some of you guys have been very kind and gone on there and give us rate and reviews. That means a lot to us. And finally, my friends, like, comment, and subscribe. If you don't know what you want to comment on by the end of this video, I will give you a prompt to go ahead and write at the very end of it. Oh, one last one. Join us on our Discord if you want to continue the conversations that we have here on the show. All right, ladies and gents, it's time to get back to our guest. I was very surprised to get a nice message from a friend of the show. Last year, he ranked as one of our top 10 interviews, a lively and engaging individual. But when he dropped into my DMs, he's like, hey, man, I got big news. I was like, what's the big news? He's like, dude, I'm going to be on the next Polaris card. And I said, yo, that's incredible because Polaris has been putting on great cards for years. And to have him be a part of that now ever expanding legacy is so good. So we decided to do one of these interviews together, and I'm excited to hear about what is next for him. Of course, you can see him as the head of Silverback Wrestling Club. You see him competing consistently, and I'm very excited to have him back on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back your friend and mine, Ian Butler. Ian, how are you doing, sir?
Yo, what's up? Hey, great intro. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Hey, it's great to have you back, sir. I want to start off right off the top by asking you, how did this thing between you and Polaris come together? Because we're pretty far away from Polaris. So to be on their radar, to get that opportunity is very impressive.
Oh, they know what's up.
Okay, hold on. Let's rework this answer here real quick because I know the people at Polaris. And if they literally just heard, they know what's up and be like, well, okay, that's a good answer. But how did it formally come together, sir?
Hey, so we were talking a long time ago. I was supposed to be on Polaris a long time ago. And they had this card come up, and it's been my dying wish to always fight overseas, not in your hometown, and to have that pressure on you. It's always been a dream of an athlete. Like I always been that guy, dude. I love being uncomfortable. So and plus, dude, I'm a martial arts fan to die hard, right? Like so like Polaris is doing big things, man. I think they're They're the number one grappling show in all of Europe, right? And all the UK.
Yeah.
So they're amazing. So yeah, they were trying to get me on, trying to find the right date. It wasn't working, and then they wanted me on this one, and then they're like, Ian, we really want you on this one. Main card's full. And I'm like, dude, I don't even need the main card, to be honest, man. Look, coming from Bellator, I was the guy that I was like one of the rising stars in Bellator that they threw media at me. I started on the prelims. Like, I was main event on the prelims, right? And they used me as like the opening show, and they always stacked me on the biggest cards. I mean, I've been on two historic Bellator cards. Um, and who's number one? I've been on one of their historic cards as well. I continue to get opportunities on the biggest cards that's out there. So yeah, and I told them like, hey man, like I was like, look, I don't care about the main card. Just let me be part of something special. They're trying to stack the card for 2024, like their end of the year big card, and I was like, well, let me help promote it by just putting me on there. I'll just be happy with that. And they accommodated me pretty well. So yeah, I mean, they want to put me on 2025, but my brain thinks, bro, like, what if you step the wrong way and then 2025 won't happen, right? So just get me on now, and then you'll probably see me later on in the future with them as well. So yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And again, they are an incredible card. It's always great exposure. It is always a great opportunity. But for me, you mentioned the idea of traveling overseas. Have you competed before for either wrestling or for MMA overseas previously?
All right, so I'm gonna sound dumb logistically. Is Mexico considered overseas, kind of,
Okay. Resident
or
brown
outside the
person here. I just
country?
want to
I,
make
I,
sure. I
I
can
mean, I
accept
mean,
that outside the US, but you didn't travel upon, I mean, most people will not.
I did fly. I did fly. I did fly. Okay. So I did the combat jiu-jitsu worlds. I was in Mexico, but no, overseas. I always miss my mark, man. I mean, Glory was supposed to put me overseas in the Paris card, and that fell through. And then I was supposed to do Grapple Fest, but then Who's Number One came with the offer, and I mean, I'm gonna pick Who's Number One, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, I everything that I was gonna do overseas got pushed for bigger cards and bigger things. But no, this is the actual first time, and I'm pretty stoked about it, man. It's a dream come true, dude. So yeah.
So I don't know how many Polaris cards you've absorbed or if you've seen their audiences, but they're a fairly rowdy bunch. Like these are people who sometimes are deep into their drinks and you do have a good personality, but are you prepared to be the bad guy? Because essentially here, you are flying in as a representative of the United States
I am.
to these very vocal Brits who have a whole different form of chants. Like they do full on soccer chants at grappling events and it gets very rowdy. So are you prepared for that? Have you started having your own teammates boo you in class? Because I can tell you, sometimes for our kids who compete, sometimes I just let in a boo if they do something bad just so they get used to the bad feedback. But are you
Oh,
going to be
bro.
used to it or ready for it, sir?
Fucking bring it, dude. And then if you I held proud, dude, I love representing the United States. You guys should check out my fight kit that I got custom made for it has a lot of US pride that I'm gonna debut for Polaris. So yeah, all the booze, everything else, bring it. It's just gonna be another Boston Tea Party in that bitch. 1776. Remember that.
Well, this plays very well here. This is not the issue. I just know that to the guys behind Polaris, we long time ago did a show, we did an interview with them. And I remembered like I have a pretty dry form of humor at times. And theirs is stone cold dry because they would try to no sell some of the jokes. And I was like, I know that's funny. You just have to learn how to laugh. And they were just trying to, keep their presence on like very prim and proper. And I just remember being like to Matt, I remember being like, it looks worse if you're trying to maintain not laughing rather than just laughing. Cause now I know it's really
No.
funny.
Ah,
And
for sure.
Matt actually has a good sense of humor. And a long time ago when Colin came on with them, those guys do an incredible show over there.
Yeah, dude, it's stoked, dude. I'm super stoked, man. I'm so glad that they're having me there. And then yeah, man, I'm ready for all the banter and everything else. I live for that shit, bro. So like it's cool, man. I mean, they gave me Will Nichols. He won Europeans. I was in the final at Pans, so it's a good U.S. versus UK fucking matchup for sure. You know. So yeah. So yeah, and I know MVP just got announced on that card against Carlos Condit. So. I just saw that a few moments ago. So it's going to be a heavy packed US versus UK card. And United States are going to take dubs like we always do, just like before.
Of course. Good start. I would ask this though. Tell me about your opponent. Who did you get paired up with? I wasn't sure. I thought I heard it, but do you mind telling us
Yeah,
if
it's
you
Will
you know?
Nichols. He's 2-0 in Polaris. He has a good guard, so I respect him obviously, but no fear. Like I'm gonna smash his shit. But he's good, man. He just won Europeans. I was bummed I couldn't go to Europeans because it lands on the same date as a big wrestling tournament called Freak Show, and I'm obviously taking like over 100 kids there. So I will always put my kids before an event, right? Unless it's like if it's huge, then I'll go. But yeah, and he won European, so no better way to make up than beating the guy that won European. So yeah.
I feel that. Let's talk about plans. Like when you go overseas, do you have any decompressed days for you? What are you looking to go over there? Because I always tell people, even when I travel, I try to make the most out of it when I go. So if I go to a place where I have a lot of friends, I say, let's grab lunches or take me here or take me there. Or my wife and I will say, hey, we want to make a visit here. Have you made any plans either pre or post competing? Because I don't imagine you're going to be getting out there a ton more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaving. I'm gonna spend a whole week out there, so
Nice.
just to get time adjusted. Obviously, yeah, gonna go visit some new museums for sure. I should be doing a wrestling clinic as well out there. It's about to get locked down soon, and then yeah, gonna do a couple shows in the UK with the UK media, and then gonna spend a couple of days after there and eat some fish and chips, and then choke out a bitch and Will Nichols.
Fish and chips and choke on a bitch. It's a slant rhyme, but it gets the job done. You know what I mean? Like it's like the first time T-Pain rhymed mansion with Wisconsin, and you go, that does not work, sir. But you know what? The way
Piss,
you did
piss,
it,
choke a bitch. Yeah.
it specifically does work for you, sir. Um, that is good to hear because to me, I always think like obviously the competition is fun, but the experience is very hard to replicate. So getting the opportunity to compete
Regardless.
at that level is so great, especially with that travel.
Yeah, man. Like it's I'm stoked, man. And then it's my first time that my family's actually gonna travel with me and my daughter and my wife. So yeah, man, they don't really travel with me as much when I compete, but this one they didn't want to miss. So I it's special to me that I take pride of like when I first had my daughter is just providing for my family always. But also I get to do cool stuff before I retire and let them live out these weird experiences that I'm going through and stuff like that, you know. So like it's cool, man. Like my daughter and son were on the Matt side for who's number one. Like nobody get those experiences and yeah, before it's over, I just gonna travel as much and compete as much on these big shows and take my family with me and create these great memories that last a long time.
How old is your daughter?
She's 1.5.
Oh man. Okay. So what have you planned specifically? Because that is a young traveler. So do you have like shut up snacks? Do you have a system ready
Oh,
to go? Like what is the plan preparation? Because that is a long flight.
I have shut up snacks here in the States. so so yes, we have that, and then no matter what, every time I compete and my family comes with me, I always have a separate room so I can get sleep,
Mm.
obviously, too. So yeah, like we have stuff in place, and yeah, man. But I'm just excited that they're gonna be there and get to live this moment of yeah, of their dad stepping up, representing the United States, and finding one of the biggest promotions in the world. So yeah.
Now you mentioned that your wife is coming along with as well. What has that been like? Have you traveled with her as well?
For who's number one?
For
Yes.
competition, yeah.
For competition, a couple of times. She gives me my space. She gives me my space. She's a good one. She gives me my space, especially obviously when I'm cutting weight and stuff like that. So yeah, yeah. And then obviously plans. I always, no matter what, when I mostly travel in the States for fights, I always tell the promotion that just fly me back 2 or 3 days later. I want to enjoy the city. I want to enjoy the town. Same thing that we're doing for London. I'm spending a couple days after competition. Before competition, it's cool to walk around, view stuff, but just everything else is just seems a lot more calmer after I compete. No matter what result happens, that I can go eat what I want, enjoy what I want, and go spend my time with the people I love. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's the cool part.
I mean, I don't care how seasoned you are, your brain is thinking of something else when you are going around there. They could show you the nicest thing in the world. You'd be like, oh, yeah, that's cool. But you do have a better appreciation post all of the matches, post all the fights,
For
because at
sure.
that point you have the ability to process as opposed to, I think that I've gone places where we've done something before an event. I've looked at it. I go, that's nice. And then I think somebody mentions like, did you go there? And I go, I was physically there. My brain was not there.
Yeah.
I was too busy focused on the
Just
cause.
thinking about the match the whole time, right? And stuff like that. But you know what, man? I think you you have stepped up your game. Like you've been in PGF now and stuff like that, and you're doing all these things. And as you do get older, the more times you become on bigger shows, you do get to separate a little bit, right? That veteranship of that experience, like you're gonna be able to take a little bit to enjoy a little bit. But yeah. But I mean the day before, probably not, especially for me competing when I'm cutting weight and shit like that. Like, nah, I'm not trying to enjoy shit, you know. Maybe the first day there or two I can walk around and enjoy some stuff. Day before, just leave me the fuck alone, honestly.
I like to
So
tell people
yeah.
this last year for PGF, or earlier this year, I should say, I brought equipment to train because in my head, somewhere in my brain, I was like, I will train every single day. I'll go
Nah,
visit the camps. That I didn't get to train at all. And
nah.
by the time I had the ability to go train on the very last day, all of us who were working behind the scenes were so brain dead. We could barely organize a lunch to get together to see each other. And that lunch was no energy. It was just, I think we did a good job, everybody. What are you ordering? What time's your flight? Cool. I'm driving back, so it's a 4-hour trip for me. Well, this is fun, everybody. I got to go. And that was the level of energy we all had. And I love all of those people. They are near and dear to me. But I had no energy. And I came back, and that next week, I was rusty as hell when I was trying to train. It took me 2-3 weeks just to feel normal again to train. But everybody weirdly thinks you're around jiu-jitsu so that you also were immersed in it. So this time I'm trying to come back for season 7. I am bringing gear. I am going to try, but
Oh,
it is a lot
you
of
think it's
work to
gonna
do.
happen? You think it's gonna actually happen?
So there's more of a system. The last time I built the system, so it was
Okay.
BMAC was very trusting. He was very much like, run your show. And I said, okay, great. And that meant I had to develop what it looked like, the system of teaching our guys how to do production, coordinating with their team, bringing the equipment. And then the weird part is we were at the same venue every single day, but without fail, somebody would move my stuff. So a camera might be a little bit off, or they might have bumped into it. So when we would go and we'd be lining up our shots, I'd be like, this moved. And they're like, you're out of your mind. I was like, no, it moved. I know it moved because I'm not lined up the same way. And I'd look at the other person, I'd be like, they're not lined up the same way. They're tall, so you have to move that up. And so people would,
Yeah.
they started realizing they're like, oh, Raf's just in his production angle insanity. So they'd leave me alone. But I think this time now that there's a little bit more of a system in place, I do want to force myself to enjoy it a little more because now we
All
built the
right.
thing. But I also know that those are full 8-hour days of doing stuff. So by the time
Yeah.
you're done, production days make you very loopy. And the guys got to experience one day where I was just yelling at them because they couldn't figure out where they wanted to eat. And they were trying to give me directions as I was driving. And I go, where the fuck are we going? And they go, no, make a left here. And I go, you almost had me make a left into a car. So be very
Nah,
clear
bro,
about
I
what
get
you're
it.
thinking.
I just got back from Utah. My kids wrestled in P&L, which is like the premier national league. It's only like the best clubs that are invited. So Daniel Cormier Academy, Poway, Askren Academy, Izzy Style. So all those guys. So we met up in Utah. So Utah was packed this weekend. We obviously had the fights. We had UFC 307, and then they had FightCon, right? So FightCon was going on. This Total Combat. It was really cool, man. It's like Comic Con, but for fighting and combat sports, right? So I had a special guest appearance and autograph booth there and stuff like that. And got to meet the fans after I was done coaching from fucking 8 a.m. to like 3. And then they rushed me over to FightCon and then did that whole couple hour segment of talking to fans and meeting fans. And then after I got done, these motherfuckers wanted to go out and it ain't happening. It ain't happening. I'm on E, dude. I'm on fucking E. It ain't happening. Don't talk to me. Don't. I just want to go to my fucking bed and just fucking chill. So I feel you, bro.
I mean, I heard things about FightCon too. I had some friends go to that. So I did hear some stuff from people telling me a little bit about it. Was there any particular moment that you enjoyed the most during that weekend or that experience?
You know what? The day before on Friday, it was me, Horst Gracie, Chris Lytle, Huron Garner, who's the gold medalist, right? And then Stephen Winborg Thompson before his fight. And then Saturday, just walking around, dude. You want to talk about an amazing fight experience? Like I'm obviously. I love my sport. I'm also a huge believer of, I tell my kids in wrestling, if you don't love your sport, you're not going to become shit, right? You got to watch film, you got to do everything. So when it comes to combat sport, I mean, I fought in MMA, I fought in Glory, so I love everything that's combat sports, right? So it was cool, man. Justin Flores was doing a seminar there, and then you had wrestling in the morning. You had Western States, and then you had jiu-jitsu tournaments, and then you had boxing later on that night. You want to talk about an ultimate combat experience? It was really, really dope, man. And then obviously with all the vendors when it came to fight related stuff or not fight related stuff, or vendors that sponsored fighters in the past or going to sponsor fighters in the future. It was a all-time great event, man, and I can't wait to come back next year and obviously do more for sure. I was coaching, bro, so in the beginning part, but I was glad I can make an impact on it and make the experience like a little bit better by me being a presence. But dude, it was world class, bro. It was sick, dude. I hope every fight fan in America, if you love fighting, if there's ever a fight con, I think you should definitely show up for sure.
I'm glad to hear about it. Again, I had some friends, they were telling me from the jiu-jitsu side, just packed out, lots of people
Mhm.
competing. So I got that feedback. And then, I didn't even know J-Flo did a seminar out there. One of the best individuals possible going out there and spreading the
Yes.
gospel. And I mean, J-Flo always tricks me into believing that I can do what he does. Like, I watch a video and I'll go to my training session or I'll go to my class and I'll be like, hey, everybody, come here. And I'll show them the thing and it looks like the garbage version of it. But I remember telling him once, I was just like, what you do is so clean and I like it. I just want to be able to do it. And I feel like one day it'll happen. But that's super cool. And then I think I also heard they had a lot of different exhibitions and stuff going into that weekend. So it was a very packed weekend. I do have to ask this, though, selfishly, because I did wonder, there was a possibility I was going to go out there at one point. And I realized if they're doing all these seminars, and I'm a California guy, and you live in California as
Right.
well. After watching the UFC this weekend, I was reminded about altitude. And I was like, yo, I don't know if I could take a seminar on altitude because I'm good at taking classes because I can start and stop when I want to. That altitude looked like it was affecting some of those fighters in the UFC. I wondered if you were like demonstrating two moves and then you're just like, yo, I don't know what's happening.
Oh yeah,
Woo.
bro. Yeah, bro. It's. Have you ever been to Salt Lake before?
I have not been to Salt Lake, but my co-host for Verbal Tap was in Colorado, and I remembered feeling it a little bit, But because it's
Bro,
jujitsu, it didn't affect me as badly because I can kind of get around
you can
things for
chill.
jujitsu.
You
In
can
wrestling,
chill.
I'm like, there's no getting around it.
Nah, so I'm obviously still in camp, so I fucking ran my miles. The
Oof.
first 7 minutes the first 7 minutes of my mile runs was a motherfucker. Bro, I forgot I was in altitude. And then when I was running, I'm like, what the fuck? Dude, you want to talk about playing mind games? I'm like, there's no fucking way, dude. I've been busting my ass in camp. I know I'm in shape. That shit felt like fucking hell. It felt like, dude, it felt terrible. Terrible. Just opening up your lungs felt terrible. So I can't even imagine just going out there. Well, actually, my kids felt it. Like some of them were like, "Oh fuck, like what's going on?" I'm like, "Hey, you remember Salt Lake is beautiful, right? When you
Mm.
fly in, the city's surrounded by mountains. It's the most gorgeous things I've ever seen." And then they're like, "Oh my god, coach! Like I don't know what's going on." I'm like, "Are you know what's going on? Like you see those fucking mountains? Like we're in fucking altitude, bro. Like one of the highest ones." Like it sucked, dude. It was terrible. It was fucking terrible. If I ever get invited to compete in Salt Lake, I'm gonna be like, pass. I pass, bro.
And it's funny because you were just telling me off air, you were reminding me about Mexico as well, and you said it on here. But I thought to myself, I was like, well, that's some places in Mexico are pretty steep as
It
well. Like
was,
there's
bro, and it sucked.
adjustments.
I'm just a dog, and I just went through it. You know what I'm saying?
I just every
That's
time
just
I
the
think
athlete
about
in me.
that, I think to myself like somebody saw me. I think this is what happened in Colorado. Now that I remember it, I think one of my friends looked at me and he's like, "Why aren't you affected?" And I was like, "Oh, I now have cardio. So if you don't have cardio, then really there's nowhere else to go. So you guys are now just coming to my level. That's why I feel like it actually worked in my favor when I was rolling with people there because I was like, why am I rolling a little bit better than usual?
I'm
But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. After experience Salt Lake, what I'm gonna do is just when promoters start booking me for fights, I'm just gonna text them immediately. Is it sea level or altitude level? Because if it's fucking up there, you can fucking find somebody else, dog. I ain't fucking going through that shit.
I mean, here's the unfortunate part. From everything I've heard, Salt Lake City is continuing to grow their combat sports reach. So you say that now, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are opportunities, and especially if you're going to FightCon, because knowing the people who are going there, I have some knowledge that they're working on things out that way that I go, oh, it's going to be hard for
Oh,
grapplers to say no.
I think I might know who you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, I ran into him, and we're gonna do some things too. We'll talk off the air about
Of
that.
course. Of course.
Nah, man, Rob, you have to go. You need to go. I'll take you. You want to talk
Thank
about
you.
gorgeous city? Everybody was nice, and shout out to all the fucking Mormons out there, bro. Because like I haven't met one bad person, rude fucking individual at all. Everybody was a joy to be around.
That is a pleasure to know. I just, like I said, it was very funny to me to watch the UFC have a moment where when people were looking at me, they're like, you know, what's happening there? And all the attention was on these referees for that weekend. And I go, it's a growing sport in that area. Like people had feedback saying like, oh, I wouldn't judge this way or judge this way. I go, come back in a few years. Like I feel like
Yep.
they're in the process of doing it, but at a very high profile spots, if people don't like you, they're going to talk shit about that commission for years. So my hope is they continue to grow. They continue to see incredible things, but it did remind me at a certain moment. I was like, "Oh, FightCon's this weekend. That's why they're at Salt Lake City." Oh, right.
Yeah,
Okay,
bro.
so that's
Yeah.
what they're doing this week. So I look forward to hearing and seeing more of it. I have to say this. So last year we did our first interview together, and
Yep.
I got to hear so much about you and your past experiences and what you've been up to. But I haven't talked to you now in about 6, 7 months, 8 months. No, it's almost a year. God. Okay. Yeah. About a year ago. What has changed in your life in that year? What have you learned as a coach in that year's worth of time?
Um, you know what? I mean, this is a perfect time for me to answer this question. I mean, me and my life for my business has definitely grown. I mean, Silverback Wrestling, we have like 7 locations now. We're really pushing we're gonna get a couple more in a couple different states, so we're making an impact on the community as well. But on the coaching aspect, which I just got done coaching, so I had to do my little coaching review. Um, man, I one thing I learned in my life is I'd rather treat things with honey instead of vinegar, right? It's as you're coaching kids and stuff like that, I will always yell on the mat to try to push you, but afterwards, man, love on them, give them props, man. Competing's fucking hard. Stepping on the mat is hard. Everybody wants to win, but in my opinion, I think you win automatically by just stepping on the mat. It's even hard to fucking get there, right? The training camps, the cutting, stuff like that. You can do all that and then fucking lose a match in fucking 15 seconds. Right? Nobody's know what you're going through or with the camp or how much weight you're dropping or adversity that you're going through just to make it there. When you see it with fights and fans and stuff like that, or some fans are like, "Oh man," you said like, "Bro, you don't know what the fuck they're going through." I give a little more people grace when they're competing and stuff like that. That's the one biggest thing I learned, and then just keep going. Every champion has losses, right? That's the only way you're gonna get better from is from losing, and losing does suck. But honestly, one of the greatest things that I have when I look back on the past and I'm teaching the kids is just if you're trying to reach the mountaintop, only thing it is that people that lost often and often just didn't quit, and that's just how you get there.
So now that we have that, I wanted to juxtapose that with another question, which is, you were mentioning to me off air. I love when you say things to the extent of, Raf, as you get older, and I'm like, I'm older than you. You aren't explaining old age to this guy, and especially like, Raf, as you get older as an athlete, and I'm like, brother, let me tell you something. This is the ghost of Christmas future. I will tell you what's coming your way. But I wanted to know, as an athlete who right now you are about to turn 35, I'm hearing.
35 in a couple of days, yeah.
Well, first and foremost, happy early birthday.
Thank
But
you.
what have you learned as an athlete that has probably been something that has made your training better, or that you felt has matured in the years that you've been doing this, because you've been in the game for a minute? So what do you feel that you've learned most as an athlete as opposed to a coach?
Um, Two things. I think the who's number one rule set kind of changed me a little bit. I was a wrestler, so like you ever heard those phrase position before submission? I was a big guy like that when I came to grappling and stuff like that. Who's number one made me just go for it, right? Because I remember they gave the speech of like, if you're trying to hold on to positions, like we would not invite you back, right? And stuff like that. Like you need to fucking go for it. I added that in my training a lot more, and then fuck it, just go for it, right? In training, I'd be trying to take my partner's heads off, respectfully, and make sure they're still safe. But I just been going for it, man, and stuff like that. And I honest believe it's something that me as an athlete I've been doing. Even when I go into competition, I just fucking just let it fly. When you let it fly, it doesn't matter what the result is. Like I can sleep well at night.
That's great. And I'm glad that you are finding that piece, because it is hard for people sometimes to adjust to a new rule set, especially when you come in from a wrestling background. We're seeing a lot of wrestling athletes entertaining more jiu-jitsu super fights. And sometimes they'll explain that they felt that they won based off of their experience as wrestlers. And they
Pat
might be
down.
right. Hey, listen, there was a great match between him and Bradley. I like that match. But he's not the only one. You could name several different athletes and they would pop in and be very similar. And I argued Jason Nolf, perhaps one of the best MVPs of that Craig Jones experience, because I looked at him and said, you had an impossible task and you made that shit entertaining. So I
Yeah,
feel
for
like
sure, dude.
there's some give and take here. But for me, I look at these folks and I understand it's difficult to change things that you're used to. But for you opening this challenge up to yourself, I think that has a long-term benefit. Having said that, what have you found that you have enjoyed the most now that you've been going more into the jiu-jitsu side of the world? Like, what has appealed to you the most in terms of playing a game in the world of jiu-jitsu that maybe you didn't get to play before in the wrestling side?
Um, Pulling. I mean, like I don't pull completely, but the wrestle ups are pretty cool. I know Eddie Bravo. When I first got there, he wouldn't allow me to wrestle at all. He's just like, "Hey, you gotta earn your way on top, bro." He's like, "Don't wrestle." He used to yell at me all the time. He's like, "Wrestle up or get a sweep to earn it," right? Um, and I think that's the one aspect of it. And then bro, if you get caught, you get caught. Like it is what it is. Especially coming from a point side, right? I think like back in the day when I first started, it was the IBJJF, it was the Nagas that I was running through, but that was kind of like points based, right? Still going to IBJJF Worlds or going to Pans is point based. But when I start getting put on Combat Worlds or start going on Who's Number One, bro, it's you gotta fucking go for it, right? And then obviously you can attest to it. You're in PGF, so I mean stalling, right?
Yeah.
If you're fucking trying to hold on, right, it's not gonna fucking fly. Like you need to get a fucking kill. You need to get a fucking submission. So that's something that I adapted that I think you're definitely gonna see in the future that I actually been really just enjoying just going for it, bro. Like it's just cool. Like and you know, when I was fighting MMA, I was a guy that I have a over a 90% finishing rate, or I got finished, right? And I think that's definitely why Bellator fans and MMA fans love watching me go because it's like, oh, I'm gonna kill somebody or I'm gonna get be killed, right? And now I'm learning, like, dude, that's the only thing I just need to do in my jiu-jitsu career, especially getting put on these Polaris fights or WNO or Who's Number One, right? That's what I have to do. So after WNO, I learned my lesson and then start applying it more. And you're definitely gonna see a big growth out of me in the next couple of years by just doing that. So yeah.
That's awesome to hear. And, you know, I mean, I agree with Eddie in this, and that's something that I do with my students, which is if you have a spectacular one thing that you do, I immediately take it away from you. And I tell you, listen, it's not because I don't want to give it back to you. It's just I want you to get good at the stuff you're not good at. So you can imagine what happens when wrestlers see me tap them on the shoulder and I go, 50%. And they're like, I don't know what 50% is. I was like, you're about to find out, young man. And then I'll like tell them, I go, listen, the kid underneath you couldn't take you down if he was gifted with the spirit of a Gable. But I can tell you this right now. If you just concentrate on working the stuff you know you're not good at, if you literally work the sweeps, you're good. So I have one training partner in specific that he can take me down easily. And I go, you only get to take me down if you sweep me. And then after that, do whatever you want. And this dude literally had the worst sweeps I had ever seen. And then they started getting better because he was like, I don't want to keep losing like this. And you
Yeah.
create little games and systems out of it. So I think long term, that has a very good benefit for you. I would ask this as
Yeah.
well. Now that I kind of have a moment to jump back and forth, has anything that you've learned from jiu-jitsu implemented its way into the wrestling side? You know, day in and day out, you're a wrestling coach. You have all these different branches, all these different aspects that you're going over, I'm sure. Has anything from jiu-jitsu seeped into that world?
Octopus.
Mm,
Octopus guard. I've been using that in wrestling for years, right? I think honestly, like this is what coaches come into play, right? Only thing jujitsu is, and I think that I got a lot better, is just simplifying things, right? Only thing jujitsu is connection, separate like isolation of limbs, right? Isolation of limbs, getting to your ties, hand fighting. It's the same shit on the ground, right? And then once I started figuring out the slowing that down, I'm like, oh, that's all it is. That's what got a lot better. And then that's what so octopus guard coming up, right? Like hitting the corner. That's where if they're gonna spin, you can hip bump them. I added that a lot in wrestling, and then in freestyle wrestling, when they hit the ground, you got a single leg, your butt hits the ground. I get a lock. Only thing that is a fucking butterfly, right?
Hmm.
Butterfly guard, sweeping, coming back on top. So for a lot of my kids, we'll give up takedowns there on your leg, they belly down because they don't want to end up on their back to give up near fall points. No, like, hey, like we go crotch like grip. Hey, kick this leg out. Only thing it is a butterfly sweep. Some wrestlers call it elevate, like an elevator, but it's a butterfly. Like, so I like playing with those two, like for sure. They blend very, very well. Very, very well. There's a two boys called the Montanona brothers. They're both at Michigan State, both won California state titles. Their dad's a black belt. You see them do that stuff all the time in wrestling and just blend in both. That's all it is, bro. And then that's what end up, and then that's how you start ending up in scrambles, right? To start ending up on top on positions. So yeah, that's something I definitely been adding in, playing with it, and having a lot of fun with it, actually.
I like to hear that. That's great. Okay, you mentioned you're turning 35. Do you have
35.
plans for your birthday? Because it's always hard to celebrate anything when you're in the middle of camp. But are you planning to do anything? Do you give yourself a day off? Do you go out and have a nice dinner? Like, what do you do?
Dinner? No. No, that ain't happening.
Literally, the
The-
one thing you could do is have a decent dinner if you plan accordingly.
yeah, I mean, but I usually go in, bro. I'm usually going to like Foca de Chao or something like that. So that ain't fucking happening. So so I don't know. My wife was like, "Oh, maybe we'll go out and get you some nice running shoes because I run a lot in camp." Uh, so probably that's it, bro. And just being with loved ones. I think that's it.
All right, all right. I see this. Okay. I
Yeah,
just
I think it'll
listen,
come
dude.
back. Hey, after London, I'll pop off, right? I'll pop
No,
off, or
I
or
get it. You
after,
can.
you know, I'll do something after fucking London or something like that. You're coming back from PGF after that. I don't know. Maybe we'll fucking get together, do fucking something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, here's the dumb part is I always tell people they're welcome to come train with me, and there's a bar right across the street. I'm always happy to take them to that bar. But I always tell people this: I will do extra rounds to eat like a normal person. So I will be the person who goes, nope, we got to go 10 more minutes. And I want to say about a week
Yeah.
and a half ago, there was a guy who came to visit, and I looked at him and I go, I'm so sorry, dude. We're doing wrestling nouns right now. And he goes, why? And I go, because I really want to have a beer tonight. And I don't want to do them either. And I'm not good at it, but that's the whole point is you will work it off. And he goes, fuck, man, why does your eating affect me? And I was like, I don't know, man. Just you're here. You want to get better. I want to eat. We all have goals. Let's just go. And then he's just looking at me. He's like, dude, this is almost taking someone for ransom. And I was like, you signed up. You signed the waiver. We're good. So I will plan things to a T just to have a decent enough of stuff of enjoying myself. But it looks like birthday is postponed until after all things
For
for
sure.
Polaris.
Yep. 1,000%.
So I want to start circling here as we get a little bit back to what the MO for the next month is coming into. Obviously, that Polaris date is going to be really, really important, but I wanted to know how is everything going for Silverback Wrestling Club and where is the future for that? Like, what are you envisioning? I think you mentioned a little bit earlier that you may be looking to even expand it even more. So, what are you envisioning for the 2025 year for your group?
Yeah, so we're moving into a bigger headquarters
Nice.
situation that's set up really nice. We're gonna have a cafe and a gym actually too, so the kids can buy food and stuff like that. We're actually gonna have a tutor on staff as well to make sure kids' GPA stay up high, just so like college recruiting goes very well. And we're looking to hop into every single state. Another there's another organization like Beat the Streets that they try to get one every single state. We're pretty much their competitor now. So that's exactly what we're doing. So we're just trying to just honestly just change kids' lives for the better. I believe every single kid should have a chance to wrestle no matter what the finances is, especially how I lived. I grew up in homeless shelters. I've been adopted twice, and wrestling saved my life, man. Being on the mat saved my life, and led me to other combat sports that made me a professional athlete to give me the platform to help out other people. So That's what Silverback's all about, man. So we have one in Oregon, we have one in Minnesota, we have one in Aliso, Huntington Beach, and then headquarters in Garden Grove, and we're about to open up Fullerton next week as well. And then yeah, the train's moving. We're looking at Arizona next, and then yeah, we're gonna keep on moving and pretty much help get these kids to a higher level. And traveling, a lot of kids don't have resources when it comes to traveling. Sometimes a good kid from their high school might just travel on by themselves and they have their parents in their corner, right? Because coach ain't flying out for one kid. But we have stuff in place that we can help kids like that too. So they can come out and travel to these big national tournaments. They can stay in our Airbnb and they don't have to be on the mat alone, man. Being on the mat alone is it's pretty fucking scary. It sucks, bro. Like, so we're just here to give a lot of kids support and not leave any kid left behind, to be honest.
Okay, here's a qualifying question, and forgive me if this involves some movement here. What is behind your head? Because I'm curious to know if that is peanut
Which one?
butter behind your head. And is that honey right next to it?
Yeah, peanut butter honey.
Okay. This is how you
Honey
know you
because
are amongst.
when my kids cut weight, when the kids are cutting weight, and they struggle, like I give them honey to give them a little energy boost. The peanut butter is like I'm a fucking peanut butter lover, dog. So if anybody
Listen,
wants to give me
you
fucking a
didn't have to
birthday
tell me,
fucking
but
peanut
when I
butter,
realized you said you had hidden snacks, it took me the extra 25 minutes in this interview to realize what you meant by that because I go, oh shit, he has food in storage for emergency cases. And I love
yep.
that you just told me, you're like, well, the honey is for when my students need that. Yes. When my students need a bolt of energy. And I'm like, brother, this looks like it's your stuff. I don't know.
Nah, bro, that's for them. That's for them.
Why is it
They're the ones that's
conveniently
cutting
right
weight
next
on
to the
TV. I
peanut
should
butter
have
that
wanted
you were
to
like,
see.
yo,
I didn't
sir,
have.
peanut butter
I'm
is my
missing my
jam?
tripod. I'm missing my tripod. Or I would have pointed towards my Bellator gloves because I have a nice setup, but my tripod's missing. These fuckers took it, so I have to prop it up on my fucking. It's propped up on fucking duct tape right now to do this goddamn fucking interview. So like, they're gonna fucking pay tonight for
Well,
sure.
you can tell me whatever you want.
So
I just want to point out that behind your head, the honey being that close to the peanut butter gives me cause and reason to believe the two of them go together. Now, I'm not
no.
saying you don't just keep the food products near each other. I'm just letting you know it's a little close to what you call your favorite snack because you're a fiend. And that closeness to a
No,
fat
no.
kid says you might have both.
Okay, I am a big peanut butter lover, but I'm not a honey and peanut butter guy. I'm a chocolate and peanut butter guy. So like, I will literally just be a fat ass and have the Hershey bar and just dip it in the fucking peanut butter.
All right. All right. I mean, listen, you know what the
But
worst
not
part
the
is?
honey though. Not the honey though.
I will say this. Actually, some good dark chocolate is healthy for you, not in abundance. But like, yeah, that can be a very smart thing. So you're not out of the range yet. I want to ask you this, Ian, because I realized I didn't ask you this the last time you were on. And it kind of segues into my world. But I
Okay.
didn't put together that you were homies with the dude who always goes viral putting up pro wrestling moves with his family. And I have watched that dude's stuff independent of you. But I remembered you guys were shouting each other out once, and I just go like, "Oh, they know each other? Oh, he's great. He seems like a wonderful person to be around." But
Pedro.
yeah, Pedro, he puts together these really funny videos, and I've just watched them like, "Oh, those look really good. He's really
So,
good at what he does."
dude, that's my brother from another mother, man. So, when I first started Silverback, that was like my assistant head coach, man. And when he lived out here, he always wanted to have a dream of making it to WWE. And that was my guy from the very beginning, dude. We're like family. He loves me to death. I love him. And he's such a good coach, man. I was just looking for a good coach. I went through FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Like, do you have a guy? Pedro was the first one. Just moved up. Just got done wrestling at Penn State, and moved down here. He had his family for a good little minute. Dude, followed me everywhere. When Silverback first started, we ran out of this place, ran out of this place. And then we finally had our own home. And we finally got our own building. And then I remember when he told me, like, yo, we're gonna move to Pennsylvania. He was just breaking down in tears, man. But I believe his wife's family gave them a house. I mean, this day and age, if somebody gives you a house, like you take it, like So he ended up moving there, which was easier for his family because they had family there, and then he got to hop into his career. Like he was trying to struggle, like he was going to Rikishi to go train a little bit, but also coaching at Silverback, traveling with us everywhere too, and it was hard for him to break out a little bit. But once he went there to Pennsylvania, he went to Kurt Angle's gym. Uh, and now he's just doing his thing. He actually has a couple matches now. Pat Angel was born now officially, So yeah, man. So I think dude, you want to talk about a good guy? Actually, when I did my wrestling fanatic video, it was me and him
Mm.
in the wrestling fanatic video. He's my partner, so he's a ride or die. I told him when I'm doing these big matches, I'll do his signature little stuff out there just to give him a little shout out because I think he's the next one coming up, man, and he's gonna make it. He's gonna make it.
I mean, I don't want to refer to it as a full gimmick, but the gimmick works. Like everything I've
But I
seen
know.
from his family, it's always funny. It's adorable. I love that they all get super jacked about it. He sells well, and then I think I saw he was wrestling on some of the indies out that way, and I just go, dude, what a
Yeah.
great story for him. So good on him. But the issue I have is not with him; it's with you, and here's why.
Why?
I'll explain myself. Just don't jump. It's
Okay.
not, it might not be
All
a
right.
big
All right.
issue. You could tell me that I'm wrong here. It's fine.
The
But I want to
issue's
make
an
sure you
issue.
understand where I'm coming from, which is how come that man has
Hmm?
viral videos for days doing pro wrestling stuff, and yet I have not seen anything of you collaborating with him. Were you also an accomplice on any of these videos? Here's why. Every year around WrestleMania, we do a thing called WWE BJJ, where we combine the best of pro wrestling in the jiu-jitsu world. You had the golden ticket with the dude who goes viral and could have won that. And every year we give a customized belt to the winner. And when I say it's a customized belt, when I say that, I mean, we pimp it out. We spare no expense. We get a customized artwork from one of our guys in the past. So I guess my question is for you. Why would you deny your friend the ability to win a nice championship belt when you could have helped him do that this whole time, sir?
He will win the world belt, or will I win the belt?
I mean, that's between you guys. I don't know how that works. We
Because
give
he's
out
not in
what?
BJJ. He's not in BJJ. So
But you
I will win
are.
the belt,
But
right?
you get what I'm
I
saying
know.
is.
So when's
So,
the end of the year mark? January
well,
for real, or when are you making it, or is it?
no,
Are you
we
guys?
do
What's
it
the end of the?
annually. So we still have to do some because what we do every year is I'll do like the main match that is like a main event, but it's out of competition. And so we go all out. We do a whole thing, but it's usually supposed to be like the way we explain to people is you have to create one video and it could be a technique, it could be a match, but we describe it as Jiu-Jitsu Halloween, where you can be the asshole you wish you could be when you're competing. You can hit somebody with a move that might not work in real life, but in a heightened version of reality, you could show where the connection between jiu-jitsu and pro wrestling is. Because I'll tell you this much, my students hate the fact that I will get them in a figure four or a Boston crab, and they're like, how do you keep doing this? And I go, I'm not good at a lot of stuff, but I know how to do this stuff. And
Damn,
they'll
bro. So I didn't
laugh.
know you're a deep wrestling fan,
Huge.
huh?
Well, dude, that's what this is. This is right behind me. This is Bret
Hey, you
Hart and
don't
Stone
even
Cold.
know my wrestling knowledge. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, so I was at No Mercy when Edge and Christian fought each other
Oh, amazing.
in the ladder and cheer match. When they fell, they almost hit me, and then I was at the first ever draft ever in St. Louis when John Cena got drafted to Raw. I was at the dark matches when Boss Man had the hardcore title and he fought Raven for all those, no, my wrestling knowledge, I mean, goes
So
back
I think you're
like
only digging the
goes
hole
back.
deeper for yourself
I know.
because all I said was, why would you deny your ability?
But you
Because
know
here's
what?
the
You know what? You know what? You know
what?
what's gonna happen?
What's that?
I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna shine my teeth out in Europe because a lot of them don't have teeth. They have like wood. And then I'm gonna come back and go meet Pedro and then come win that title
Okay. Okay.
and to show you
I'm
guys
just saying, but you know what? The issue we do have sometimes is the guys are like, well, who gets the title? I was like, that's between you boys. I don't get involved with that. We just give out one. They look dope AF. But when I saw him and I saw you together, I go, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. But the reason why I tell you guys and I yell at you about this is you guys have the advantage as wrestlers to do the cooler stuff
I
because
know.
y'all know how to move your own bodies in ways that jiu-jitsu people look stiff doing or they don't look as right. And so you just add a little bit of flair or a little bit of exceptionalism to it. It does look pretty cool. So you would be amazed when you see some of the stuff that people have sent us in the past when we put up this year's submissions. I think you'll kind of get an element and you go, oh yeah, we can now do that. Or that's up our alley.
I'm down.
Okay. Just saying.
I'm down and I'm in. I'm down and I'm in. You will start seeing a little bit more wrestling promos out of me too.
Okay. Okay.
You know, I mean, my boy is Chael Sonnen as well. You know, so
I,
I have the personality. Me and Pedro have a great personality together. We made a great team. I think that's why we have a big fan base over
it's
here
just
too.
so
So
funny to
like,
me because he's the epitome of a baby face. So I'm like,
yes,
dude, man, that's such a good thing to work off of because if you've got the ultimate baby face, you can do whatever you want as a heel.
bro. His promo. I was with my wife. I was like. Dude, at the end, I was like, this motherfucker. Like, he was announcing his name, right?
Yeah.
And him and his wife, she has the baby in her hand. And he's like, I just want to let you introduce that we have girls. And, I just want to announce that my new name will be Pat Angel. And then he just stares off and pauses and she's talking. Motherfucker did not move. He did not fucking move. And I'm just dying laughing. He's just looking up at the scene. Just looking up at the fucking corner. And I'm like, bro. I'm like, you fucking kidding? Like, he pulled it off though. It was great. But I was just fucking dying laughing.
Dude. And like I said, it's you know when sometimes something goes viral and you can kind of piece it together in the end, you go, oh, this dude's got a great soul. I get a vibe of what
Yeah.
he's like. He's made for
Yeah.
this. And for me, I go, oh, okay. And then you see the two of you together, and I go, well, now I'm mad. Before, I was just like, oh, I'm glad they're friends. That's kind of a cool fact. But then you put it together and you go, they could have been doing this the whole time. All
I
right, fine.
know. I know.
And
I
he clearly
know.
knows how to put together a very good video. So I was just like,
He does.
I will tell you, there was one year, I won't tell you which year, but we do fan submissions. So it's like friends of the show and fans of the show. They submit stuff. There was one year where I bought one belt and we're about to give it away. And I saw the submissions that year and I was like, I did not like these. These were not cutting the mustard. You know, like put a little bit more effort. Like the move has to be cool, or the match has to be cool, or the promos have to be cool. And we leave it open to interpretation. And then there are years where we get everybody who submits something where I'm like, I can't pick. These are all really good. Like, uh-oh.
Yep.
So you can only pick one, but I think you guys will enjoy that. So give my best to him. Let him know he is doing excellent work, and I hope that he continues to crush it.
I definitely will. I definitely will. I'm gonna hit him up after this too. I'm like, yo, we have to. Apparently, I have to come out all the way out to Pennsylvania for us to start making some videos now. I guess it
You know
wasn't
what the worst
good.
part is? For somebody like him, all you ever have to do is explain there's a championship belt at stake because
Oh, he's like, I'm in. I'm in.
not only are they in, but if you ever go to a wrestling live event, count the number of belts that people are, their posture changes. And I'm like, you won that from Kmart. You didn't beat anybody
Yeah.
for that. But I've count no less than like 150 belts. And I see how much they retail for at like $400, $500, where I go,
Yeah, bro.
what are you doing? So I've
I
always
used
had a
to have the
rule, which
Brahma
is
Bill
I
bill.
should be
I
able
used
to
to have the
take that
Rock
from them.
bill.
Oh, you
I
did?
used to have the Rock bill. I used to have it with the Brahma Bull on it, and I used to have the Intercontinental Championship as a kid.
That makes sense. I do feel that. All right, all right. As we circled now, I do have to ask the last question, which is, which was your finishing move? When you had one, what would it be?
I mean, I was a huge Rock fan, but I love the pedigree from Triple
Okay.
H. It's to me, it's either It's either a pedigree or, I mean, for me, it was the Diamond Cutter from Diamond Dallas Page,
Okay.
right? Now it's RKO, obviously, and Randy Orton's a St. Louis boy, just like me, and I love him and his dad Bob Orton because they represent. Uh, but the Diamond Cutter and the pedigree was like my favorite, so it was those for sure. And I also was a big Chris Benoit fan. I actually met him before the incident happened. but uh but yeah, man, like my wrestling knowledge goes deep, 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 dude. All the way from WEC, Eddie Guerrero days, all those, man. So yeah, I'm a big fan. Me and Pedro, that's why we mashed together. We were always talking about it, always hanging out. So yeah.
That's what's up, dude. That's really cool. I think you picked good ones, and I mean, I will say that it's not like I'm telling you how to do your job, but a double always finds its way into a pedigree pretty easily. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like it's a pretty easy thing when somebody messes up a double,
I
and
mean, I did love the spear from Rhino, but my favorite top rope move is probably the frog splash because I love Rob Van Dam as well. Like I mean, a lot of people hit frog splashes, but there's nothing like a fucking Rob Van Dam frog splash. He did it probably the fucking best. You know, like it was good, dude. The 619 from Mysterio is a good finishing move when it came to the ropes as well. Uh, yeah, man. Like there's a lot of good ones, man. There's a lot of
well,
good
the
ones.
challenge is now to take what you do in wrestling and in jiu-jitsu and find out ways to incorporate them, because what I'll do is if somebody hits turtle, you know, if they're not doing something, or like, for example, they go to turtle and I get a wrestler, they reach their arm behind my leg and I'm like, don't do that. And they'll be like, why? I go, you can do that in wrestling. You can't do that here. And they're like, why? I just brought it in like this. I'm like, dude, I'm a crippler crossface you every time you do this. And like, that shit really hurts. And I'm not trying to break your neck. And they look at me without fail. I'll set it up and I just have the arms clasped like this. And I'll just go like, as I was saying, and they go, oh, coach says not to do that. I go, please don't. I go, unless you can do something explosive and fast, it's very difficult to not almost put yourself in a makeshift version of an omoplata. So please don't do that,
I love the
wrestlers.
crippler. I love the crippler crossface, bro. I'll do the whole trying to reach for the ropes. Like, well, was that close?
So essentially, that was our rule. That's how WWE BJJ came to be formed. Somebody put me in an armbar once, and I made my way over to the wall mat, and I got my foot to the wall mat, and I just remember telling them like, "Well, you have to break the hold because I touched the wall mat." And they were like, wait, that's not how this works. I was like, shouldn't it though? And they go, this is the stupidest thing. I go, yeah, I feel like if I reach the rope, you have to let go of the submission. So once I started doing that, people started being like, oh, that's funny. And we just started adding bits and bits and bits. So it became a thing. Then we decided, let's have fun. Let's expand it. Let's have our fans submit stuff. And like I said, when it hits, these guys, mwah, they make the funniest videos. So it really is something that I feel like it is up your alley. Sir, I think we're going to go ahead and close it on up, but I'm going to put the camera on you. Go ahead and feel free to plug whomever, whatever you want, and remind us on where you're going to be on November 2nd.
Yeah, what's up, you guys? So, thanks for everybody. The first time I came on the show, I got voted like one of the was top 10 interviews. So, hopefully this makes the top 10 again. I hope you guys enjoy everything I do. Hey, guess what? So the homeless shelter I grew up at and got adopted at. We're gonna do a tour drive. We just got a van donated to us for Silverback. We're gonna take all the seats out, fill it up with toys, give it to the homeless shelter so they can have a good Christmas. Make sure you guys can catch me out on Polaris November 2nd. Shout out to my sponsor over at E-Ride Pro, Classic Tech 2, Jason Long Law, also Dave and Buster's, and Jocko. Thank you, Violent Gentlemen. Thank you guys for always supporting me and helping me out in my career. Love you guys. Thanks for all the support. And then for all my Silverback kids, keep killing it. Keep your grades up.
Sir, I wish you nothing but the best over at Polaris. Go represent us well here in the States. I'm very stoked that you were on that card. It is going to be very fun to watch, and I will probably be watching it as I'm driving actually to Vegas for the PGF for the next season. So I'll definitely try and shout you out when we do one of
Yeah.
our pre-shows. But dude, Great stuff. Keep up the great work, and it is great catching up with you.
Great catching up with you. Thank you, guys. USA, let's go.
Let's go, brother. I'll talk to you off air in a second, but ladies and gents, last couple reminders here. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this interview, like, comment, and subscribe. Do us that solid in that comment section. Tell us, let's say this. I said I would give you a prompt. Why don't you tell me the first wrestling show you ever went to? We heard this man had basically all of Salt Lake City on lock when he was going down that way. Or St. Louis, sorry. Salt Lake, very different. He was there recently. Lots of cities were mentioned in this interview. But St. Louis, when he was there, he was basically seeing all the major events. You could tell us what your first one was. I think my first one was actually the Royal Rumble. I think that was one of my first shows I ever went to. And that was back when The Rock and Mankind went at each other. So that was a good one. All right. Tell us that in the comment section if you've gone to a wrestling show. Number 2, you can also check us out, patreon.com/grappling hour. Say what's up there, $5 a month. See these interviews 30 days before anybody else. And for a few extra dollars, catch our extra bonus content not available anywhere else. Last and not least, add us, subscribe us, like us, rate and review us on all of the major social media platforms, but especially on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. Every time you do that, it really does make a difference. Check us out, rafflesparza.com/merch, and get you some Grappling Hour gear. And of course, continue the conversations we have here on the show at our Discord at Grappling Hour. Ladies and gents, thank you so much for watching along. We appreciate you guys. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.